Another edition of Riding Home, Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry. We're recording this before the Masters ends. Who's going to win? Oh, no, you know what? That's too difficult. Is Tiger going to make the cut, and is he going to win?
He's not going to win. He's going to make the cut, though.
Okay.
It would be terrible if he just came out and played awful. So definitely pulling for him to do as well as he possibly can. It would be crazy if he did win. I don't think he's going to. There's a lot of guys playing well right now, but I think he'll make the cut.
What are we watching for with the Georgia Bulldogs as we get? This is essentially one of our previews for G Day. And, we're doing this. It's a Sunday night. I want to remind everybody that Friday I will be at UGA Red Zone from noon until close. Matt will be with me on Saturday in the morning for a while. If you want to come say hello to us, please do. There's a link below to DAWGSTRUCTION. You can pick that up at Red Zone if you've never seen it before. It's on Clayton Street. Okay, it's on Clayton Street in Athens. But Matt, by the time you and I both walk to Sanford for this game, there will be a pile of recruits, first of all. Second, let me just lay it out. There will be a pile of recruits. There will be celebration handing rings out for the dogs. I don't know when they're doing that. I don't know if they'll do that beforehand or not or what, and then there will be the actual game. Let's focus briefly on the recruiting aspect of this. Georgia, we're not on any network anymore, thankfully. ESPN has come out. Now, ESPN and I on recruiting rankings, we're not really giant friends, but I do watch it and see, and they have Georgia number 2 behind Notre Dame, which is, I've not heard Notre Dame being number 1 very much lately in recruiting rankings. But Matt, Saturday either sets the table for the conclusion of the 23 class or begins the dialogue with 24 and 25. What are we looking forward to here on G Day for that? And then we'll get into all the aspects of everything else from G Day related.
Well, they've hosted a ton of prospects over the last few weeks, and a lot of them will be back in Athens for G Day. And it's always one of the bigger off-season recruiting weekends. And it's a time where we used to be able to see who Kirby Smart was talking to. I remember a few years ago, he went right up to Louis Sean and his mother when they were watching warm-ups. And you could tell then, okay, this guy's a big target. He just went specifically over to him. He walked Keely Ringo out onto the field a couple of years ago before G Day. So you get a good feel of, who the big targets are, who the coaching staff is, kind of connecting with on the sidelines, this and that. So I hope to have a big visitor list on Dog Post sooner than later next week at some point. So a lot of guys still figuring out if they're going to be able to make it or not. These kids have been going everywhere. It's spring break this week, so visits are happening all over the place. So hope to confirm some big time prospects. I'm assuming many 5-stars will be there. Not sure about Arch Manning. Don't think he's going to be in town. But plenty of 5-stars, and of course, that info will be on Dog Post.
Yeah, it sets the table for 22's conclusion because we are within, let's see, at this stage, 7 months of signing day, which is crazy. You never used to say that. But let's talk about the quarterbacks coming into this thing because it seems to me like Stetson Bennett has had a good spring so far. We're in the last week of practices. There's only 3 practices left, one of which is G Day. And we don't know what happened at the scrimmage yet. But where are we with all 4 of these quarterbacks? Let's just go through all of them. People love to hear and talk about and comment on the quarterbacks, who they love to hate, and the speculative nature of which we get to see these guys compete for an extended period of time on Saturday ends. The speculation ends. We could actually see what's going on with our own eyes. Let's start with Stetson. Again, he's had a good spring, insofar as we can tell. Kirby said as such. What do we need to see from Stetson coming in and out of this G Day? Obviously, we don't need to say everybody needs to stay healthy. That's understood.
Yeah, I mean, just don't turn the ball over. Continue to do what he does, make plays with his feet, be smart with the football, distribute it, get it out quickly, know what he's going to do with the football pre-snap, and again, take care of the football, right? That's one of the biggest reasons He started last year. Occasionally, there would be an interception here or two, but everyone throws the occasional interception. He did play really well towards the end of the season, especially against Michigan. So just to control the team, be the leader. This is his 6th year, going on his doctorate at quarterback at Georgia. So he's been around. Just lead the team as the guy who's going to be starting for essentially the 3rd year in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, he will be. It will be starting in some form 3 years in a row. This is what he
Yeah.
had to say, Kirby Smart, about the quarterbacks. All those guys have done a tremendous job. Stetson has taken some really good quality reps here. He was talking about the scrimmage. He's been really consistent here in the spring, has been very comfortable. When things break down, he doesn't have to go make a play like he used to think he had. I'm going to stop right there. Matt, that's the biggest thing with Stetson. I think Stetson thinks he's Superman, okay? I think everybody has their view of Stetson, which is, oh, this guy's Rudy. No, he thinks he's Superman, which is not good, right? You don't want to play hero ball. You want to play the right play at that moment. And what Kirby's saying is when things break down, he doesn't have to go make a play like he used to think he had to. Georgia's still in that Alabama game in 2020 if he doesn't throw across the middle the way he did. You have to live for the next play. Even if you're down 10 in the fourth quarter, you can still win the game. So that's the one thing to me about Stetson that he's improved. He is a better quarterback than he was in 2020 for sure. I think as the season went on in 2021, he became a better quarterback. His apex was the close of the season, although a not great performance came against Alabama, but people overdid that too. To me, his worst performance to me was the Florida game. I think that's the worst game he played. He played well against Tennessee. He played well against Alabama the second time for sure. He played well against Michigan and in
Auburn.
the
Yeah.
Auburn, and in the second Alabama game. Speaking to my previous point, he played well enough in the fourth quarter to have a deficit and win the game, even though he made what felt like a catastrophic mistake in that moment. I don't feel like I always have to say this, but I will. If that was a fumble, I'm not sure how the fumble in the first quarter from Bryce Young was not a fumble, but that's whatever. Um, this season in front of us will have a lot to do with how Stetson plays. That's all there is to it. And Saturday gives us a glimpse into what that could look like. Um, you were saying he needs to just be himself, needs to execute. I agree. Now, Saturday will be different, Matt, in that they'll be throwing a ton. So we'll see a lot of Stetson throwing it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of guys throw the ball. I mean, one inside source told me that they kind of know what they're getting from Stetson.
Right.
Again, he's been around for a while. It's time to see what you have with the backups, just in case. I mean, if something
Yes.
were to happen to Stetson, you got to have someone who's ready. So I think, Carson has been getting reps with the ones. I was told that Brock Vandergriff got some reps with the ones during the last scrimmage. So they need those guys to work with the starters, get build some chemistry with those number one receivers, the offensive line, and the running backs. So it's important to get those guys as ready as possible because they are incredibly talented. Carson Beck is in his 4th year. If you told me 4 years ago when he signed, how good would he be in his 4th year in the program? I'd say really good. Brock Vandergriff, it's also been around for a hot minute now. I think this time last year, I was told that his head was spinning. One source said that Gunnar Stockton, as talented as he is, he kind of feels like Brock last year, where there's just so much going on and there's so much learning, but you could see the talent. I think this could be a big step forward for Brock Vandegrift. And if it is, it might be tough to keep him off the field. I say that, but then he's rocking the number 3 spot right now, I think. So
Right.
it's hard. I mean, it's such a crowded but talented room. It's hard for one of those guys to come up and especially take that starting job away from a guy who just obviously led them to a championship.
Let,
We
let
saw
me.
something similar a few years ago, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add what Kirby had to say before you start talking about Gunnar Stockton. Kirby had to say this about Brock and Carson Beck. The other two guys have gotten a lot of work with the ones and twos. I'm really pleased with both of those. I am really pleased with both of those guys. It's just amazing how far they've come from this time last year to now. It's like, oh my gosh, Brock probably even further because he was a little younger. Carson did a great did get the COVID spring. They're both really in their second spring, but they have come so far. I love getting to watch them play with both of the groups because you get to see their strengths and when they get to go with those groups, talking about the higher groups, the ones. They're really in a good position at quarterback, and each one of them has developed. We have not had a season at Georgia where one quarterback has maintained the starting position the entire time except 2019. That's only happened in 2 seasons of Kirby's entire time. We haven't had that happen since 2019. 16, there was a rotation at quarterback. There was a starting quarterback at the beginning of the season that didn't finish it. Same in 17, same in 20, and same in 21. You cannot know where you're going quarterback because of injury, because of performance. There's just no telling. What are you looking to see from Carson Beck on Saturday?
Confidence. That's kind of what we've been hearing from him this spring. He's more confident. He knows what he's doing. He's been in the system now. I think I said 4 years earlier. It's really been 3, though. But he knows Todd Monken's offense. And I want to see him, again, look like a leader, make the right throws, make some big throws down the field, show us something that we maybe necessarily haven't seen from Stetson Bennett or Carson Beck in last year's spring game. So I just want to see how far he's developed, whether that's just making throws that we haven't seen before or maybe moving in the pocket a little better. That's something that I saw him do in high school. Haven't really seen it a ton yet, but I want to see him playing with confidence, playing loose, and just having fun out there because I know he has arm talent. A lot of people have told us he's one of the best throwers of the football, maybe the best on the team.
Right.
I want to see him having fun, being confident, and slinging it around.
I'll talk about Brock Vandergriff because of your discussion just now on Beck. What I want to see from Vandergriff is improvement as it relates to accuracy. That's something that's really important, something we hear through the cracks. I'm not going to lie, I would love to see him show his speed some because he's got it. And I do want to see those two guys fight it out as much as possible. It is a curious quarterback room right now. It's probably as good as Georgia's had collectively in some time. There appears to be an order, but it's spring football, so we can't totally know. G-Day will have a lot to do with the order. So will this week's practice that we're coming up to. Brock Vandergriff is still a tad young, particularly when you compare him to the experience that Stetson Bennett has had. But he is a more physically gifted version of Stetson Bennett, taller. I was going to say faster. He probably is faster. I'm not sure he's quicker, but and I know he's more powerful in terms of delivering blows. Brock Vandergriff is the real deal in terms of the package, but like everyone else, Carson, Gunnar Stockton, these young men are going to have to put it together when the band is playing, as Jim Donnan once said. It's time to do it, and Saturday does matter a lot. I want to see Brock Vandergriff perform. I'm not down on any of these guys. I think this is what it is. It's awesome. I mean, you get a chance to go out and compete, make mistakes, throw pick sixes, and then what's the next stage after that? Stetson Bennett's career through himself is through him multiple pick sixes, Matt. We all know what it's like to try to do something. We all know what it's like on this call, at least, to try and fail at things. It happens. Question is, what happens after you fail? What happens after your pick sixes, or what happens when you're 3 of 7 and you kind of can't get things going? That's what I want to see from these younger guys because winning it all is not easy, and there's a challenging path to that. Let's see what these guys have got. Your comments on Gunnar Stockton?
He's a guy. He's a legend, right, in Georgia high school football. So we know what he can do. He's another guy who can really run, and he's Kirby's type of quarterback. They loved him out of high school, and he's another guy who did not turn the ball over much at all in high school. Didn't go up against great competition week in and week out. Not a great, didn't go up against the Bears or the 21 Georgia defense, or anything like that. But he can run. He can throw it. He's technically sound. He was a 4-year starter at Raymond County. Felt like When I first heard about it, I'm like, oh man, it's going to be forever before we'll actually see this guy in college. But he's here now, and again, they mentioned him on the videos, the guys who make the SEC videos. I mean, people have heard about Gunner for a long time, so it'll be interesting to see him get out there and do his thing. Still, definitely a learning process, a lot of development to do, learning the system, and just playing quarterback, whereas he could really do whatever he wanted up at Rabin and was clearly the best guy on the field. That's not the case anymore. So, how long is it going to take for him to translate from AA ball to, Georgia practices where he's really improving and making plays?
You know, the way you just put it is exactly right. Can you play quarterback or not? Because physical attributes only get you so far at quarterback. You do have to have physical attributes. Don't get me wrong. You have to be able to deliver the ball accurately. But in order to play quarterback, you gotta do that exact thing. Let's talk about. I mean, my examples of tennis come up consistently, but Roger Federer is. It's hard to say he's the best at any one thing, and yet he dominated the sport with a couple other guys for 15 years. You look at Rafael Nadal. You think he's a great volleyer? No, he's a fighter, though. I'll let you know that right now, and he will grind you down. So that's the thing. Can you play the sport? Once the ball gets rolled out there, can you play the sport? Can you compete in a way that you combine what you do well and maximize that while improving on what you're not great at? Only then will you really. I mean, the thing that Stetson was bad at was making these just bizarre decisions when he didn't have to, and it's coming from a guy who's not dumb at all. I mean, pretty smart person, I would say, um, and yet tried to be a hero. See, and so much of this position is about not doing that. I think that's one thing that Gunner is going to. Now, I haven't seen a single thing that he's done this spring. But that, if we're projecting forward, Gunner got to play hero ball in high school a lot because he was so much better than everybody else. He played hero ball more than Brock Vandergriff did. And that's the one thing with Gunner. Can you do exactly what they need you to do in that time? That's his question, I think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch the quarterbacks for sure. For me, I want to see guys step up on defense. There are plenty of opportunities, plenty of spots to be
Where?
taken. So I'm looking along the defensive line first. I mean, Tramel Walthour, Zion Logue, Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson. I want to see those guys in there more often and see what they can do. Is the defensive line going to take a massive drop down? Yes, Jalen Carter is excellent. Probably a first round pick next year, one of the top defenders in college football, but he still needs guys around him. And if those guys play well, it's going to be even easier for Jalen to have a monster year.
I'm sorry, Matt. What are we looking at with Williams? I mean, he's a guy that came, as a 5-star player. What are we talking about there? How can he help this line?
He's going to bring some athleticism, length, and pass rush. He can play on the edge, could move inside, play the 3 technique if he could. I mean, if you're looking for a guy to replace Trayvon Walker, which is incredibly hard to do, I'm not calling him Trayvon Walker, but I mean, he could be pretty close. He still needs to gain some weight. I think he's a little lighter, probably 255, 260, where I think Trayvon came in a little heavier than that, but he's a guy who gets after the passer, stops the run. His wingspan is crazy long. He's quick off the snap. He can beat you. He's got a number of different moves. He was working with Marvin Jones Jr. down at the All-American Bowl, and Marvin was saying, hey, how do you get to the quarterback this way, this way? And Mike Kell was teaching him. One 5-star teaching another. That's how advanced he is. He's got the spin move. He's got the bull rush. He can beat tackles outside. He can use his quickness to get inside, get between the tackle and the guard. There's just so many ways that he disrupts the play, and the guy just lives in the backfield. So I think he's one of the defenders from this 22 class who's going to play, and we'll see if he flashes at all in the spring game. MJ Sherman is a guy I want to see more of. Chaz Chambliss, Jamon Dumas Johnson, Xavier Sori, Small Munden's hurt, but there's so much talent on this defense from the last 2 recruiting classes that they
Robert
could be
Beal.
really, really good. A veteran. You got Nolan Smith out there too. So there's a balanced group of veteran leadership with crazy young talent that just needs their opportunity to shine. And because I think there could be future, first round picks on this defense. We just haven't seen them yet because they were so talented last year.
I saw someone write about how much Georgia's got. Someone wrote, I cannot recall where I read it. I do digest a lot of information that Georgia was going to be very inexperienced. I'm like, well, not on offense. I mean, I think it was
Yeah.
somebody, one of the data folks at ESPN. They're not exactly losing everybody on defense. They're losing a lot of guys that are really good. That's not the same as losing everybody. Again, what we just talked about, just these guys alone. Robert Beal, Jalen Carter, or not in that order. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Robert Beal. Those are three big time players to me. Robert Beal, a returning sack leader for the team. You're going to have. But what you talked about earlier is correct. Where is Nazir Stackhouse in all of this? Like, you and I went to go see him play when they played at Grayson. We met him a long time ago. It's now time. It's Nazir's time now, right now too. Brinson has played a fair amount. Is Bill Norton going to have his impact in the team and on the team? There are plenty of guys. Dumas Johnson's being talked about a lot.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. I don't know if he's Roquan Smith and Kobe Dean, but he could be Monty Rice, Tate Crowder, maybe step above that. But he's good.
Yeah, I think it was a recruiting thing on ESPN. The more I think about what I was reading, but this team is going to enter the season as, what do you think, number 3 or number 2? They won't. Alabama will be the number 1 team.
I mean, I would probably pick Georgia to beat Ohio State to start the season. I mean, it would be tough with their experienced quarterback going
Yeah.
against Georgia's, a lot of newcomers on that defense. But I'd probably say Georgia's number 2. I mean, defending champs. I mean,
No,
they
that
should be
doesn't
number
matter
2.
this
I
year,
mean,
though, does it?
yeah.
That's how we do it.
There's a little bit to me, but I mean, I understand why a lot of people would put Ohio State number 2, but they're not falling past 3. I think in anyone's minds.
Yeah, who would be the 4?
I think a lot of people like Notre Dame this year.
Why?
Um,
Why?
I think they've got plenty of talent returning. The new staff, though, new head coach is going to be challenging, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of great teams going into this season. It's not. I mean, USC's on the up, but I wouldn't put them at number 4. It's not Oklahoma. It's not Clemson. I mean, maybe A&M, I guess, and that's pretty lofty for them. I know they have high expectations, but I mean, Michigan, I guess, should be pretty good again.
Well,
Oregon is pretty good, top 10, but I mean,
yeah, Oregon for sure. I mean, when you look at Notre Dame's schedule, you can. I was just going to say, can they get where they need to go with the schedule? And the answer is yes, no question. They play Ohio State, BYU, which no one, but they'll play Ohio State, BYU, Stanford. I'm skipping some teams, Clemson and SC. So they have, I would say, 5 kind of legit games that people will watch. That opener against Ohio State will be Georgia Clemson of this season. It will be a spectacle. It will be a bigger deal than Georgia Clemson. I know that sounds, people aren't going to understand that, but it will be. And I don't know. I don't know who the 2. I don't know who the 2 or the 3 is. I certainly don't know who the 4 is. I think a lot of people are going to say it's Texas A&M. Texas A&M's got to be more consistent for me to believe that they're a top 4 team. And right now, they're not consistent. I will be at Red Zone on Friday at noon. Matt and I will be there starting somewhere in the morning. I'll be there in the morning, and Matt will be there in the morning. But you'll see us there at Red Zone, Clayton Street. We'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.